Welcome to the Ku-ring-gai Council Public Forum. The Public Forum is an opportunity to share your views on any issues on the Council meeting agenda and on any other general matters that are important to you. It provides an opportunity for councillors to hear directly from the community, understand the needs and concerns of constituents, and make more informed decisions. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here this evening. Before we begin, I'd like to outline a few procedures in relation to this evening's public forum. I want to remind everyone that this is a public forum and we must all be respectful of each other. I remind councillors of their oath or affirmation of office made under section 233A of the Act and printed at the front of the business paper. All attendees must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. This meeting is being recorded and the webcast will be published to Council's website. Councillors, council staff and speakers will be shown on camera. Attendees must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the Council's Code of Conduct or making other potentially defamatory statements. Any statements made and actions taken by individuals are those of the individuals making them and are not endorsed or supported by Council. Councillors, council staff and members of the public must ensure that mobile phones are turned to silent during the forum. Councillors and council staff must declare and manage any conflicts of interest that they may have about any item of business that is on the agenda this evening. A few reminders for our speakers this evening. Speakers cannot use or present any props, audio or visual material. Any written material must be lodged when registering or handed to staff. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address council. A chime will sound when you have 30 seconds left to speak. If you have a lot to say, I encourage you to submit a written submission. Each councillor may ask a maximum of 2 questions. Speakers are under no obligation to answer, but if you do, please limit it to 1 minute. Speakers cannot ask any questions of councillors or council staff. I will start with conflicts of interest. Are there any conflict of interest declarations for councillors? No, doesn't look like there's any. Okay, we have a couple of speakers on the public forum tonight. Our first, we have one speaking on NM1, which is improved asset utilisation and support the arts Ku-ring-gai, which is Tony Bates, who is representing Marion Street Action. Tony will be speaking for the GB item, NM1. Whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, councillors, staff, community members. Look, it's winter, it's cold. It's a short agenda. I'm sure you'd all rather be somewhere else, but I do salute every one of you for being here on a cold winter's night and representing your communities in all their diversity. I've spoken today to several members of the Council's Arts and Cultural Committee, and we wholeheartedly welcome this motion and we support it, providing the motion leads to an action plan that leads to dollars in a budget to boost arts and culture in Ku-ring-gai. The feedback we keep getting is venues. Priority number 1, venues. Priority number 2, venues. Priority number 3, venues. Our job is to create the spaces and create the environment for all our communities to thrive in all of their diverse endeavours. And this motion is an important step in our journey to demonstrate our commitment to arts and culture in our community. Out of this motion, we will need to see real dollars being allocated to arts and culture, including a dedicated arts and culture hub. Until dollars are committed, nothing's going to halt what I see as an exodus. We know pinball players left the building for Willoughby Council. We know the Ku-ring-gai Philharmonic Orchestra are holding most of their concerts in Willoughby Council. We know Ku-ring-gai dance studios are flocking to Warringah Council, and we know Marion Street Theatre for Young People, whose chair is here with us, is deciding its future at a board meeting this week. By the way, they invite you to a special performance this weekend of Alice in Wonderland in Willoughby Council. This time last year, most of you showed up on a cold winter Sunday at the East Linfield Community Hall for Winterval. Council told us it was too wet, too windy, too unsafe for us to host 100 people in a park. That park is right next to a community hall selected by residents over 100 years ago and owned by council for nearly 100 years. In February this year, the weather got us again, and we moved 6 community arts and cultural groups into a local hall, church hall. Of course we support the motion. Let's take these necessary steps today to get more juice out of the existing venues we have in an imaginative way, and I support and commend Councillor Ballantyne and Councillor Kay for the motion. I'm sure fellow members of my Arts and Cultural Committee will be invigorated, motivated to contribute to that process, evidenced by action and dollars. So let's take also the steps to substantial commencement of the DA, the Arts and Cultural Jewel in the Crown at Marion Street. I look forward to seeing you all in 2031, the 100th anniversary of Council buying that community hall, and let's invite all those arts and cultural groups back to that gala opening. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Oh, there is a question from Councillor Ballantyne.
Not so much a question, just a statement. Thank you, Tony, for speaking today so eloquently. The seconder on the motion was Councillor Wheatley, just for your information.
Councillor Wheatley, thank you for the seconder. For the second. All good? Thanks all.
That's it. Okay, we'll move on to general business. We have one written submission, but we have one speaker, which is Mignon Booth, who will be speaking on Norman Griffith's Oval project.
Norman Griffiths. Disaster here hasn't just dropped out of the sky or been a bit of bad luck. Distortion of proper process and planning has caused this situation. The delays, the cost blowouts, the foreseeable and predictable consequences of flooding events which Councilling has been battling with since the commencement of construction. What went wrong? The responsible development process here was sidelined. The responsible development process here was sidelined by money and politics. By money and politics, I mean financial pressures started at the planning stage with the Tide grants, the shortcuts in the financing of the geotech survey, and politics, outcomes became lobbied by outside interests. The horse came before the cart. I'll give you 4 examples of the many examples of predictables not fed into decision-making. Materials for the project were bought before the design was even completed, let alone reviewed. Flood studies done on a previous, very different design were used in the draft ref to proceed with the construction, allowing only 10 days of public exposure for a review. The geotech study relied upon happened before the current design was even imagined, and was done for a synthetic surface, not involving the major excavations required by the current design. And here we are, with asbestos fines, further delays and costs. New South Wales Parks and Wildlife Service voiced concerns about flooding erosion and the possible pollution of the connecting waterways. They were refused further time, to the mere 10 days given, to highlight any problems. What happened? EPA clean-up notices, delays, costs. Mr. Watson's famous quote of the site being fundamentally incompatible for a synthetic oval was years before. However, Council's own flood engineer, Mr. Cadman's warnings that the storm tech chambers wouldn't work, and his anticipating the failure of the flood measures with the design, as well as Sydney's most eminent flood engineer stating under oath in court that this design would not work and the inadequacy of any meaningful floodwater studies as designed. All happened well after starting the project. The horse before the cart. What was missing here on the Norman Griffiths project? Meaningful, independent, expert flood modelling on the actual completed design before proceeding. meaningful exposure to independent assessment of the project prior to commencing construction. What am I asking you to do, councillors, this time round? Please, councillors, no matter what your ambitions for the final design or outcome, please resist political pressures which sideline expert planning processes and responsible financial management decisions. Public exposure and transparency can predict obstacles and prevent unwanted outcomes such as we have.
Thanks, Mignon. You've just got a question from Councillor Alec Taylor, if that's okay.
Is that okay? Yep. Hi, Mignon. Thanks for coming and
Very well.
thanks for coming and speaking tonight about this project. I just want to say I share your concerns about the flooding risk. My question is, are you aware of and supportive of our measures to perform an independent external review of the project to date?
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's money, spending money after money. But fundamentally, in our view, why the project went wrong was all the problems weren't seen and shown and brought forward before. And that's a bit of it's a domino effect. By putting it in the exempt category for planning, nothing was done to the standard of a multi-million dollar project. It was done to the sort of standard of a minor development. And as you know, it's a flood area. It's a very complicated project. It was a very complicated project. And I just think they underestimated the significance of all the issues and just didn't also take up the warnings, which would have shown up if there was listening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mignon. Okay, that's all for our speakers today. So thank you everyone for participating in tonight's public forum. The webcast of this forum will be published to Council's website tomorrow. The Council meeting will be held at 7 p.m. next Tuesday, and you are encouraged to attend in person or view the live web stream via the Council website. I encourage you to continue to stay engaged with Council and share your feedback. Thank you again for your participation. I declare the meeting closed at 7:13. Thank you.